Okay, so let's move on now to you and your brother. That seems to be a problem. We're told other people don't exist. Well, how in the hell am I supposed to relate to them? So we have you and your father over here. We've got a conflict relationship hidden behind the veil of amnesia until I look at it is the idea that I have to find someone to blame. I must find someone to blame at every moment because guilt calls for punishment, and if the guilt stays on me, then I'm going to be punished. So in the process of going back first to the right mind, then realizing I never left here, I've got this other that has to be dealt with in my everyday dream. So what we've done over here is I think of it as prisons and vaults. So what I'm doing here is I'm constantly making judgments about other people, usually judging them as not acceptable or not good enough this or not good enough that. And it doesn't matter whether you're judging somebody you're interacting with right now or you're still judging your parent from 40, 50 years ago. It doesn't matter. It's the same process of judging. So if you think of an image of somebody behind bars, every one of your judgments of that person is one of the bars that's keeping them in prison. So you're saying not only are you a body, you're saying they're a body. And they're a guilty body. And the whole idea behind the ego's version of sin is something that cannot be fixed. It can't be corrected. That's why it has to be blamed on somebody, because you can't fix it. The ego does not believe in forgiveness, unless it's forgiveness to destroy, which says, well, because I'm so holy and I'm better than you, I will forgive you. You know, there's not much love in that. It's not real forgiveness. So, so you have your brother, your other, behind bars. Everybody in your life, you've got some kind of bars over them. And even when you have a special love relationship, and there's no difference between special love and special hate, except temporarily. Temporarily, you make nice with them, and as long as they're giving you something you need. And then when you get tired of that, or they're getting too needy, or they're getting too close, then you'll pick a fight. You'll find some reason why, well, I can't deal with that anymore. I'm just going to move on here. So we have everybody behind bars. If not everybody immediately, they will be there. They'll get there eventually. You put them behind bars. But the prison cell also functions as a vault, because remember, separation is necessary for me to exist. So I've got to keep the guilt going, and I've put it in you and everybody in my life, especially the people I react to, the people who've hurt me, the people I condemn, the politicians that I think are disgusting, the countries dropping bombs on other countries that I judge. All of it, they're vaults. They're vaults. I always think of Jack Benny's vault. If anybody's old enough to remember the radio show Jack Benny that always had this big, every single show there would be something about Jack, who was supposed to be a big penny pincher, going down into his vault and creaking open the door, count his money. So we keep guilt in the vault. There's got to be some guilt somewhere. I'm going to find who's got it. But if I have not forgiven you, I've got a vault. You're my vault that I'm going to keep it in. I can't let you off the hook, because then you'd empty up my vault. Where would I be then? So Forgiveness, in the Course's terms, is not saying I, a body, will forgive you, a body. It's pulling the projections off of them, realizing I made up this whole story about them, and I don't need to do that anymore. So the Course says that the key that we threw away when we threw away we closed, felt like the gates to heaven were closed off by our separating. And the key that we threw away, it says God gave it to our brother. Well, how is it this other person is going to have the key? This other non-existent person is going to have the key to my waking up. It's because every single one offers the same opportunity to see them from here, from the lens of peace, seeing them as the same. I have the opportunity to see that and choose differently at every moment. So there's a workbook lesson. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. It's the key. Not forgiveness one body to another, but pulling those projections off that I put on there. I'm doing all the projecting. I make up all the stories. There's one of the teachers that I've had who said that a meeting between two people is a meeting between four stories. It's my story about me and my story about you. There's your story about you and your story about me. We're not seeing each other's reality. It's just the stories interreacting as to which one can be the innocent one and the other one is going to be guilty, whatever. And we have all these expectations of what each other should be. But remember that everybody has what the Course calls a spark of God within them. That's the opportunity to see that. That's what's hidden behind all those bars you've put over them and that heavy vault door where you're keeping them locked in. If you can just for a moment ask to see past the outer form. The Course says nothing so blinding as perception of form. It says our eyes, our perception, stops at the outside edge of nothing. There's nothing there. And we say, well, that body is who you are. And bodies are guilty, and bodies are sinful. And sins are in bodies, and sins are done by bodies. But if I can, for a moment, suspend that and look to find that spark of light, it's my own spark. I can't see it in myself, but I can see it in you. And if I see it in you, I'll remember it's in me. And because minds are joined, when you make that effort to see the light in them, that light comes forth. So everyone holds out that key to us that will unlock the vault and that will unlock the prison doors too. But we have to free one another. That's our work together. As we're companions, whoever shows up, whether it seems to be somebody you really get along with or somebody you can't stand, they're your companion for that day. And if you can go to this place in your mind where you're asking to see them as they really are, or to know them as yourself, to know that you're the same and not different. That's how we go home together. And the Course says, you to begin the journey home, you gather in, your brothers, and you go together. And it says we either go together or we don't go at all. So when people think of personal enlightenment, how am I going to be enlightened? Well, you're not. There's a line in the Course which is the eyes, E-Y-E-S, the eyes of Christ are shared. Well, I like to change that word E-Y-E-S to pronoun eyes. The eyes of Christ are shared. Our identity is shared. It's in sharing that identity. Can be with a kind word, it can be with laughter. It can be with saying the right word at the right time, giving somebody a comforting gesture or a smile. going back and revisiting the people that you have a charge around the relationship, like a parent, and asking to remember other things than, because we form these constellations of memory. So if we're, as egos, have been keeping them locked in a prison, then one of the ways of taking off the projections is to remember something different, something positive about them. Usually when you first encounter people, you're pushing away the negative and you're saying, well, I can get this from them, or I like this about them, or, this is a good thing. But then when you decide that you don't need them anymore and you want to slam them into prison, you push away all the positive memories that you may have shared with them, and you're going to remember only the negative things. So I highly recommend, as a way of breaking body identification and going here to remembering I'm a mind, that we are minds, is that you have a little toolbox that you carry around of mantras or sayings or whatever that you can apply in any situation. So when you find yourself contracting, being defensive, being annoyed, being disappointed, being angry, being impatient, all those kinds of things, then you can pull out some of these things. And a really good way to do it is to take some of those lessons, like there is a lesson, I am the light of the world. Well, you flip that around, so whoever you're talking to, you are the light of the world. And 20 times the lesson is repeated, at least 20 times in the workbook. I am not a body, I am free. Well, in your mind, you are not a body, you are free. There's a lesson, I am spirit. Turn that around, you are spirit. And there's a group of holiness lessons, which I really like. I always equate holiness with wholeness. So it says, my holiness shines bright and clear today. Your holiness shines bright and clear today. I walk the world with God in perfect holiness. You walk the world with God in perfect holiness.
Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God.
Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God, right.
My favorite.
And we can't go home alone is another one. There is no gap. We share one mind. That's something that I use all of the time. And there's another one, I will forgive and I will see this differently. So there are things to carry around in your mental hip pocket to pull out tools to disengage from here and re-engage with the peace in your own mind, to see other people and to receive that key from the others. The Course says, you would not react at all to figures in a dream you knew that you were dreaming. So somebody can be acting out, having a temper tantrum, being really angry, disrespectful, sarcastic, putting you down. And if you can look at it from this place of peace, so here's a piece of myself. Here's a piece of myself showing up as this other person. Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. This is part of me that has come to me and wants love. The Course says that the Holy Spirit sees only love or a call for love. That's all there is, and the only same response is love. And this is our forgiveness is the only real expression of love that we can do in this world. It's the closest thing that we can do to loving, is to remove our projections and stop reacting and, inwardly in our minds embrace whoever shows up and whatever they're doing or saying. So that's the secret of other people.
And stop looking for trouble.
Yeah.